Hello, my friends. It's Patrick here. Sorry for keeping you waiting for so long, but this week, opening day. Yes, I'm so excited. I love Major League Baseball opening day. And so what we're going to do is celebrate it with a little new feature I'm going to call the Fired Up 5. I'm going to bring you 5 players or parts of a topic, and we're going to start right now. Major League Baseball 2001 to 2010 players. Let's get into it. First up, a couple of honorable mentions. Carlos Beltran, Lance Berkman, Roy Oswalt. These 3 powered the Houston Astros to a bunch of success in the early 2000s. Great players. I should probably add Jeff Bagwell to that list as well. All really great, but not quite great enough to get me excited to put them on that Fired Up 5. Up next, Derek Jeter and Mariano Rivera, both on here for very separate reasons. They won a lot of rings. However, Mariano's a closer. He's probably the best one in the game, but he's just a closer. Derek Jeter. Now, Derek Jeter is going to cause a lot of divisiveness. Let me know what you think down in the comments. But first up, dude was not a good defender. He just wasn't. I know he won a bunch of gold gloves. Gold gloves in the early 2000s were meaningless. And to let you know, a guy who just inside outs the ball into right center field over and over again, not that exciting to me. So, up next, my last 2 honorable mentions. Vladimir Guerrero and Adrian Beltre. Now, these 2 were left out of my Fired Up 5, so I wouldn't appear biased. Huge fan of Vladdy. Huge fan of Adrian Beltre. Fact, I saw Adrian Beltre play at Montreal, go 5 for 5, and man, I've never seen a player hit the ball in the screws quite like that. Love Adrian Beltre. And you know what? He might even be in our next list, the 2011 to 2020 list. He played that long for that well. Or that well for that long. And Vlad Guerrero, I mean, he's so good. Cannon of an arm. Some of his best seasons were probably 97 to 99, but didn't do quite enough to make it to this list. So, let's get into it. Number 5. Number 5 is going to be Chipper Jones. Chipper Jones from 2001 to 2010 had a 308 average, hit 247 balls out of the ballpark, 948 OPS from a switch hitter, came in with 46.8 WAR for the decade. Now, if you remember those Braves teams from the mid-90s to the early, well, actually most of the way through the 2000s, all they did is win. And Chipper was the heartbeat of that whole team. 96, 97, 98, yeah, they were really great, but they really didn't come into their own until those early 2000s teams when Greg Maddux and Tom Glavine and John Smoltz really became the dominant guys who were winning Cy Young after Cy Young. I mean, Greg Maddux was shutting down steroid-era lineups with just funny moving fastballs and stuff, but Chipper was the one keeping the offense going through multitudes of changes, 13 straight division titles, a lot of them on the back of Chipper Jones. That's why he comes in at number 5. Number 4, the big unit, Randy Johnson. Now, Randy Johnson's a special player on this list because he is the only player that did not play every season from 2001 to 2010 because he retired in 2009. Now, great thing about Randy Johnson is he starts off this 2001 season with one of the best seasons from a pitcher of all time. Over 10 WAR. Now, from 2001 to 2009, he went 124 and 71. He threw over 1,600 innings at a 3.44 ERA, 43.3 WAR for that period of time. Randy Johnson was the most intimidating player of the time. I mean, look what he did to this poor bird. Yikes. Anyway, dude was incredible, and he played on the Diamondbacks, so he was one of my team's rivals, so you know I give him a bunch of respect. Randy Johnson coming in at number 4. Next up, number 3, another pitcher, the top pitcher on this list. It's Doc Halladay. Rest in peace, Roy Halladay, the best pitcher from 2001 to 2010. Now, when I was putting this video together, I expected Randy Johnson to be there. I expected some other pitchers to possibly pop up. I was very surprised when Roy Halladay, far and away the best stats, far and away the most WAR. He was 156 and 72. He threw over 2,050 innings, 266.1 innings pitched through the decade, at a 3.05 ERA, putting up 54.2 WAR. Roy Halladay, great pitcher, had the no-hitter in the playoffs a little bit later in his career. But man, when he was pitching for Toronto in that first part of his run in Philadelphia, he was incredibly consistent, all-star level pitcher. Number 3 on the list, Doc Halladay. Here we go. Now we're getting into the 2 best players on this list. Number 2, Ichiro Suzuki. Oh man, his rookie year was in 2001. He played until last year in 2020. Ichiro, especially those first 5 or 6 years he came over from Japan, was unbelievable. I mean, look at this throw. Whew. Still gives me chills watching him throw out that runner from the deepest part of right field all the way third base on a laser. Incredible. 331 batting average, scored over 1,000 runs, stole 383 bases, 53.3 WAR, revitalized baseball in Seattle after they lost both A-Rod and Ken Griffey Jr. You know, heartbreak for that team. Didn't make the playoffs, but 0-1 he comes in. Immediately, the Mariners set the record for wins all time in the regular season, and he goes on to have a Hall of Fame career after he had already had a Hall of Fame career in Japan. Number 2 on this list, Ichiro Suzuki. Incredible. Now, before we get to number 1, we've got 2 big players on this list that I know people are like, where are they? Why haven't you talked about them yet? Where are they, Pat? Well, they're in our dishonorable mentions. First up, Barry Bonds. Now, he was number 3 in the decade in WAR, despite only playing until 2007, and honestly, 2001 to 2003 were the only good seasons he had in that stretch. And man, they were good. But he's more of a 90s player. We'll talk about Barry and my thoughts on Barry in the 90s video. Now, dishonorable big mention, Alex Rodriguez. Alex Rodriguez finished the decade number 2 in WAR behind our number 1 player. However, he was busted in the Mitchell report. It was widely known that he did a lot of them in Texas, was where he started this decade. I have a tough time putting A-Rod on any list that's going to celebrate greatness. And to be honest with you, I was just never a fan. So, dishonorable mention, Alex Rodriguez. If you think I'm a jerk, let me know in the comments. Now, number 1. If you've been watching, you should have a pretty good idea who this is. He was the face of the league from 2001 until 2010. He made probably the best ESPN commercial of all time. It is none other than the Machine, Albert Pujols. Albert Pujols from 2001 to 2010 was unbelievable. I mean, yeah, the guy came back and won a World Series, but Albert basically just ended Brad Lidge's career. 331 average, 408 home runs. He averaged over 40 home runs a season, 1,230 RBIs. He averaged over 120 RBIs, 77.3 WAR. Albert Pujols, our number 1 Major League Baseball from 2001 to 2010. That's what gets me fired up. If you agree with my list, if you don't, hit the thumbs up, like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be trying to bring you one of these every day to celebrate opening week right here on PJ Sports Life. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.